Hello everyone, Scott here from Pillow Partners and welcome to the weekly live Q&A. We're answering questions about business entrepreneurship, leadership, property, and a focus on service accommodation, short-term rentals, Airbnb, whatever you call that industry. So my job today is some rapid fire answering of your questions. These questions come from our community. I'm going to do my very best to get them answered within 60 seconds to make it nice and sharp, rapid, give you as much value as I can within the time. For most of the questions, I take them and answer them in a longer format in our academy. So most questions can't be properly answered to the degree that you need that information to take action, to move forward in 60 seconds, but it does give you a good place to start. For the larger questions, I upload these after this. The most interesting ones that I think will add value to you, a larger format, probably between 5 and 20 minutes. So if you want access to the larger answer to the questions, sometimes answered by experts much smarter than me and the team in the community within our training academy, just comment or DM Academy and we will give you access to this. That also allows you to ask questions and I can do them next week. So let's jump in. I want to go. Nice one about this week is we have lots of business questions, not just property service accommodation questions. So we're mixing it up this week. So let's jump in and get started. Next question. What is the difference between a limited company and an LLP? Both give limited liability rather than doing it in your own name, which just makes everything you own liable and open game for anybody that has an issue with you or tries to claim money off you. A limited company and an LLP both give you limited liability, meaning if things go wrong in your business, it should stay in that business should you not have signed any personal guarantees or taken anything out. So it's a reward for taking risks and being an entrepreneur. The difference really then between a limited company and an LLP, a limited company is a corporate entity that gets taxed at business rates. This is done at corporation tax, I believe between 19 and 25%. That may change, but any profits within that company get taxed at the rate that is due, and then it doesn't get taxed anymore unless you take it out. A limited liability partnership, an LLP, on the other hand, gets taxed at your personal tax rate. So you only get taxed once. So anything that's taxable profit there gets taxed, you pay tax at your tax rate. So essentially both offering protection. One is taxed at your personal tax rate, the LLP, the other is taxed at business tax, which they call corporation tax. And again, there's a bigger answer to this in the academy. We break down the two and what one would be right for you. Just comment academy, you can get access to that. Next question. How do you decide between self-managing and using a management company for short-term rental property? So a nice question here, guys. You need to do what is right for you. For the overwhelming majority of people, I think using an agent is the right move. Again, I'm biased there simply because I have a management agent. It's not a plea to get your business. But if you can find a good business partner, a good management agent, it should make you more money than you could do yourself. So for us, our business proposition at Pillow Partners, maximize income, reduce stress, and free up time. A good management agent should make you more money than doing it yourself. It'll save all the time and it'll take away all the stress. You don't need to be on call 24/7 dealing with guests. They're going to have software, technological things that make it much better for you, deliver a much better level of service for your guests, and make you a hands-off business. So I actually did a full training module on this. I think it's 40 minutes, how to pick an agent and do you really need one? There's lots of guides, checklists for you to make the right decision for you. It's in the academy. Comment or DM Academy, you'll get access. That's full 40-minute training on that. No sales at all. Just do you need an agent? And if you do, how do you pick the right one for you? Next question. How do you handle maintenance issues for your Airbnb when you're not local? Great question. Essentially, you're going to need to build a pillar team of trusted people in your area that you're going to give the work to. You've set the standards, the expectations. You're going to pay them reasonably well so that they react very quickly and put you to the top of mind when it comes to this. Don't try and cut corners when it comes to paying your tradesmen and contractors because they're just going to bounce you to the end. You need to be their principal customer, the one that pays them the fastest, treats them the best. So you can do this. You can go to BNI meetings. You can find them. So if you go to BNI, there'll be a list of all the local chapters. You can go on there and you'll find all the tradesmen you need. You don't even need to attend a meeting, because every BNI chapter will have a website and it'll tell you who the local tradesmen are. So that's one way to do it. Facebook groups is another one, and getting recommendations from existing people in the industry. So if you are self-managing, then you need to build up trusted people to do this, not just for stuff you need to do proactively like gas and electricity, but think of emergencies, roofers, even gardeners, all handymen to go and sort things on your behalf. And your cleaning team are a really good one, because you will have a cleaning team in place for this anyway. They can go and do things. You can pay them an hourly rate, and they can go and sort things so that you don't need to travel to the property. So not just about maintenance, but think this a little bit wider about the guest experience. Let's say they've locked their keys out, or they can't work heating, or something breaks. Nice and easy to pay a cleaner 25 quid to go and sort that, and you making a 3-hour round trip. Next question. I am nearing the VAT threshold with my rent-to-rent portfolio. Can I split this into 2 separate companies? Again, your accountant or trusted financial advisor will tell you the answer to this. Never take financial advice about tax and VAT off Facebook. What I can tell you is HMRC are likely to see that as business splitting for the purposes of avoiding tax. You need to be very careful with this, guys. We've got VAT threshold and accountants doing talks in the academy on this next week. So we're going to get a professional in to talk about this. But if you have two portfolios, each earning £50,000, that would cumulatively go over the VAT threshold. Don't think it's smart to try and split the two, because if the HMRC catch you doing that, and then backdate it, let's say in 3 years' time, they say, well, actually, we believe that those, despite you having split them, it's the same operation, it's the same ownership structure. There are certain tests that they will apply. I won't go into it here because it take too long. Certain tests they will apply, 2 main ones, and they will say, yes, we believe, don't care if it's 2 separate companies, for the purpose of VAT, that is one entity for VAT, and we will take the VAT, and you need to pay it backdated. If you haven't been collecting VAT, you need to pay that 20% that you haven't collected. May bankrupt you. You may be paying that VAT bill off for many years and never make a profit in your business because you haven't collected the VAT. So be very, very careful about this, guys. I've seen people, yes, you can do it, and you do it, and you structure it, and you get your mum-in-law in as an LLP partner and all this, guys. Just be super careful. The HMRC have employed like 5,000 new people to do this. They're going to be very smart when it comes to their software technology of linking this up. It's just going to, AI is going to be scanning everything, and they're going to be looking for anomalies. And if you've taken income out of one business and set up a new one, and that is the same property with the same leases, they're going to suss that, guys. Even years ago, they would have sussed it, but now you won't get away with that. So be very, very careful. Business splitting for the purposes of avoiding tax. Do not do it. Next question. Which banks should I use for my property business? I've been waiting 8 weeks with a high street one so far. High street ones can take a very, very long time, guys. We're a managing agent, so we need client accounts, designated client accounts. We were with somebody for 20 years. We moved over this year. It took a long time. Even though we were an established business, we knew what we were doing. We had to answer lots of questions and go through lots of loopholes, especially to get the ring-fence client accounts. You probably won't need those, but if you're in the property industry, even doing rent-to-rent, some high street banks don't like that. So it does take a lot longer. So the answer, challenger banks. What one do we use? Tide is one of the main favourite ones. Monzo, I'm finding very good at the moment. Starling has been good for us. We run one of their accounts through Alica Bank, which is a kind of hybrid. You get an account manager, so it's not quite high street, but it's not quite challenger banks. Another one is Revolut, and I've never went all in Revolut. So there's all the different ones we use, including 3 high street banks. So we've got a few businesses, lots of client money. We need to do things correctly. So challenger banks are very good, and they have lots of other benefits. Nice and simple. They can get set up in a day and good to go. So Tide, I like Monzo, Starling, and a few other ones. What's right for your business? But there are easier options there. And guys, sometimes you need high street banks because you can walk in, you can get an account manager, you can speak to people, you can get a little bit more customer service. Some of the challenger banks like Tide, if you've their AI systems, or some could just flag something and shut you down instantly. So you need multiple bank accounts for your business. Don't have all your accounts in one bank, because things happen. High street banks have a little bit higher level of service should you need it. But challenger banks, my wife Emma submits the same ID every couple of months, and then they shut her bank accounts down to say, well, you've not submitted your ID. Yes, I've done it 10 times. So these anomalies mean bank accounts can get shut very, very quickly these days for something that is an anomaly. So have your money spread out across multiple bank accounts. Next question. What is a fair damage deposit or policy for a service accommodation unit? There is a lot of risk or damage. So I'm assuming there's lots of risk of damage in your property. It's a high value property. So the rule to think about here, guys, is the higher the deposit, the fewer bookings you're going to get. Exclude super high-end luxury properties where there's super high demand and your calendar's full. But essentially, the higher the deposit, the bigger the checkout abandonment will be, the basket abandonment. Think if you're going through your $14.99 flight to Europe from Ryanair and you get to the end and it's 300 quid, you abandon that cart. Why? Because there's all these taxes and charges. So psychology and user interface and guest checkout studies show that the bigger the deposit, the bigger the extra fee at the end. People are going to grudge that and say, I don't want to be given £1,000 from a 200 quid stay. So you need to balance that up. I have seen hosts of ours over the years not take our advice, charge a crazy high deposit because they had one incident in their property. They lost 25% of their income. So for us, having managed 1,000 properties at one time and managed 5,000 properties over the last 20 years, I can tell you the damage deposit being a lot higher will sacrifice your income in most cases. And in this case study, which is actual, they lost 25% of their income for the potential of having a little bit more of a deposit. So what you want is to set this up that gives you some protection should you need it. There's other ways rather than taking deposits. You can get guest insurance, etc. But your main thing is money in the bank at the end of the year. Remember, damage deposits, you need to give back if there's no issue. So as safety there should you need it. But if you can get 25% more bookings, which is 100% money in the bank, versus money in the bank that goes back out, or pre-authorizations and credit cards that you never take, to give you a little bit of peace of mind, what's more important, peace of mind and 25% less money, or 25% more money where the odd thing might happen, of which you hopefully have insurance for, or via the platforms as well. But it's what's right for you, and you can test that. Next question. How do you handle guests who don't read the checkout instructions? Well, most guests probably, check-in instructions, sorry. Well, most guests won't read the check-in instructions. Airbnb type guests are going to be asking lots of questions. How many bits of toast can I get in my toaster? What's the wattage of the hairdryer? All of these things. Booking.com guests may come and go and never ever answer any of your messages. Again, for me, I book hotels via Booking.com. I'm never going to read. I would never see Booking.com messages. They pop up and I'm like, oh, I stayed there 2 months ago. I'm not going to read hotel check-in instructions because I assume I'm going to get there. It's a kind of standardized process. If it's an apartment, it's totally different. And if I'm booking through Airbnb, it's totally different. So you need to, number one, just have something automated to hit them across multiple channels. Phone them at the time of booking, 100% phone and leave a voice note telling them to do this. Instruct them to your online guest portal. Then on the day of the booking or the day before the booking, just confirm their arrival time, give them the check-in details. Hi, just to let you know this is self-check-in. It's not a reception. Somebody won't be there. What we kind of expect, well, of course, it's self-catering or service accommodation. How would they expect somebody to be there? People are coming from different countries with different cultures and different expectations. So make sure it's there. And the last thing, when you contact them by a phone or message, always contact them and put that into the booking portal so that you can prove. Because if they turn up, haven't read the check-in portals, and then go to a hotel and demand a refund, you don't want Airbnb refunding them because they think you have not been there. You want it in your communications timeline on Booking.com Airbnb to say, I've phoned you 4 times just to let you know it's self-check-in. Then Airbnb won't refund them. So that's an additional tip to this one, guys. Double up everything in the booking platforms chat so that if they turn up, because we get it all the time, I turned up, I knocked the door, there was nobody there, I went and stayed at a hotel, they didn't even phone the helpline, This happens probably every few weeks. Somebody pulls that one, and then they want a refund or they want the money for the hotel. Airbnb will give them it if you've not contacted them at all, even if you've phoned them lots of times out with the platform. So protect yourself. Next question. What is the best way to handle late checkouts without upsetting guests? So when guests are checking in, you give them that check-in time. You phone them and say, hi, the property's been cleaned. We've got a tight turnaround time, so you can't check in before that time because there's a cleaning protocol here. If you can give them an early check-in, that's fine. When it comes to checking out, you need to phone them to let them know. You need to hit them across multiple channels, get your automations in place to let them know there is a hard checkout, let's say 10 o'clock. And you need to let them know the cleaners are arriving at 10 o'clock. So you need to phone them up. Some guests will just dilly-dally and think, well, I'll stay here until such times as the cleaners arrive. You need to let them know, guys, the cleaners are going to be here sharp at 10. They'll probably pass you on the way out. They'll be waiting at 10 o'clock. So you can let them know that. If guests are a little bit late, let's say they've been to a party or a music event, they're not ready, you need to let them go. The guests are coming, the cleaners are coming, and they're going to be there. You want to tell them, guys, remember you got your check-in on time. Imagine your check-in was late. Imagine your check-in was 2 hours late. Would you accept it if I told you you had to wait outside in the rain because guests just didn't bother their arse moving out? They just took their time. That's disrespectful to you. We would never allow that to happen, and we want the same for the next guest. We want to provide a great guest experience. So we don't want to upset guests, especially if you're, let's say, a female and it's a group of guys and you don't want any conflict. And they're drunk or hungover or on drugs. It's a party place. You want to be saying, guys, come on, the guests are going to be arriving. It's a tight turnaround. The cleaners are here. I need you to leave. So communication is in advance. And then when this does happen, which I'm assuming this is where this question originates from, you need to let them know the cleaners are here, guys. I'm paying them an hourly rate to stand about. This is going to delay the next guest moving in. You got in time, and now you're delaying that for the future guests. That's unfair and appeal to their emotions. Next question. How do I set up a limited company? It seems very daunting and I don't know where to start. Well, it definitely does, but once you've done it once, you can do it multiple times. It is very, very easy. You can go into Companies House, companieshouse.gov, or just Companies House. Google it, and you can register your company. It's very easy. I believe it's £100 these days. You can also go to Tide. A previous question today mentioned a bank account. Well, if you go to Tide and set up, I think they absorb £75 of the cost. So you can do it for £24.99. So Tide will do it. You can set up a bank account at the same time as registering your company. If you go into Companies House, you can get your company done and get the name, and that's squared away straight away. I am told that if you do it via Tide, well, they want the bank account. That's why they're taking £75 hit, because it's a customer acquisition cost to get the bank account, to get you as a customer. They'll set the bank account, and they're a party that's registered to put Companies House submissions in on your behalf, set a company up. So they've got a link, a tie, but it can be complicated. So some people have done it seamlessly. It depends on your industry. Maybe if you're doing rent to rents or something like that. And Tide may ask all these questions and make that a long process and ask for loads of other documents. That may be tightened up, guys. Nice, simple, £100 Companies House, to £24.99 via Tide. Now, some things to think about with your name. You can go into Companies House and check, is that name available? And is it very close to something else? So we are Pillow Partners and Pillow Property Partners and Powered by Pillow. So our company names, if you had to go to and do the Pillow Partners, it would be very similar to us, and that's not something you should be doing. So make sure you're not annoying anybody else that exists in the market. Your name is reasonably unique. Don't be... You can be similar if it's a different industry. So there's different classifications when it comes to trademarks. So Pillow, we do service accommodation, but there's pillows there that are pillows that make pillows. Well, if we have similar names, it's fine because we're not in the same industry. Next thing is domain names, and make sure that your company, should you want a website and email addresses that represent your company, is there. Lots of company names gone. It's hard to find websites with the higher level domain names like .com and .co.uk. So make sure that your company name, if you're building a brand, as Pillow Partners, we've got pillowpartners.co.uk, pillowpartners.com. But if we had a company name and then couldn't match that up and had to have an obscure domain name on a website, so that's one thing to consider. Are there existing businesses out there similar to yours that you're kind of infringing and going to annoy them? They may have a trademark. So we've got European trademarks for a lot of our brands. And we would have object if you called it Pillow Partners. So other companies would as well. And guys, if it's other bigger companies, they're going to have IP laws that will blow you out the water and send you cease and desist letters. So have a little look at that. But that's not to make it complicated. Your name could be your second name, whatever you want to do. And it's nice and easy. Once you've done it once, it's a simple process. Next question. I own 2 properties in a limited company and I'm about to take on a large rent-to-rent property. Should I just run this through my existing company or set up a new one? So a property ownership company with 2 properties, and I'll make the numbers up. Let's say they have their £250,000 each. It's £500,000 worth of property in there, and you're signing up a large rent-to-rent property. If you put that into the same property ownership company and something goes wrong with the rent-to-rent aspect of the business, then everything within that limited company is fair game for somebody to go after. So again, you want to speak to your accountant on how best to structure this for tax and liability. But from the liability tax, I'm not going to give tax advice, but for a liability point of view, do you want a litigious American coming to your rent-to-rent property, falling and breaking a leg or getting electrocuted, something crazy out of the ordinary, and they come after everything in that limited company? So it definitely wants to be in some form of limited liability company, whether it's a limited company or LLP. Probably don't put it into your property company because all those assets are at risk. There are other tax considerations that your accountant will go into, but it's separate activities, so should it be separate? But you want your rent-to-rent contracts never in your own name, never with personal guarantees, and never in something that owns lots of assets. We don't go into companies with the thought of folding and not paying our debts, but we do want to be very, very careful that if the environment changes, something catastrophic changes in the world and our businesses no longer work, that we don't lose all of our property assets. So things to consider from a liability point of view. Definitely not just set up a limited company. We mentioned in the previous question, it is very simple. It costs you £100, it'll cost you £25, £24.99 to do this. There will be extra compliance costs at the end of the year. But again, a nice, simple rent-to-rent company shouldn't have a lot of accountancy thoughts, accountancy things there. So that's us. Thank you very much. We come to the end. If your question didn't get answered, please join the Academy. DM is Academy. The team will set you up and you can answer your questions there. I do them every single week. I'll bring these videos out. As we said, short format questions, try to keep them nice and concise. The longer answer to a lot of these questions, if I can't answer them, like tax stuff, I will get an expert into the Academy. We'll do a live session and those will be 5 minutes minimum to 20 minutes. And we're bringing the guest expert speakers every single week. Those will be up to an hour and there's going to Training Academy forever for you to refer back to. So thank you very much for watching. Anything that comes of this, any questions, just let me know. We can send over further information. Cheers, guys. Have a fantastic day.